So next up, we have Jonathan talking. He's one of our industry experts from Peppermoth Marketing. So he's a digital marketing expert. And Jonathan, throughout his career, I think it's fair to say, Jonathan, you found it frustrating to settle for the status quo and often being ahead of the common solutions to some of those marketing problems. And essentially what you've developed as a business, working with the best partners you've been able to identify that specialise in cutting edge, outcome focused digital marketing. That's what you've built as a business. And today you're just going to share a little bit of your experience as to why you've gone down that route and what's got you there. So you haven't got any slides, Jonathan, you're just going to speak.
No slides.
We'll just close this down and let you take the stage.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob. So my name is Slobom, Jonathan Slobom. Think about it. Would you want my surname? You should probably guess or think of some of the names that I was called at school. Lots of very creative people came up with lots of very fantastical names. But I framed it as a negative thing at that time. I even went as far as wanting to change my surname to Greenwood, of all names. But then I came to realise that it was a point of difference. People weren't malicious, they're just having fun. And when you frame something differently, you can cope with it much, much better. Roll forward to today, and I love my surname because it's become a point of difference. It becomes something that makes me memorable, and I fully embrace it. So what was started off as a failure is now seen as a success. Moving through my life as a child, I was an excellent swimmer. So at county level easily when I was about 9, 10 and into my 11s and 12s. But, I was surrounded by very, very high performance people around me, and there was an infectious energy that we were all in this together. But I got told to give up by my coach, and my coach told me that my times were going to drop off because my legs weren't long enough. I absolutely refused to accept that at the time, and I battled on against nature for another 12 months, and eventually I had to accept that nature had failed me in this case, and my times were dropping off, and I was never going to make it to a top swimmer. But I had stretched myself, and I had pushed through what people thought was the impossible barriers, and this taught me to never give up and continually to surround myself where at all possible with very, very high performing people. See it again. This failure led to a success. On to school. Well, to be absolutely honest with you, I wasn't academically gifted. I went to take that further. I actually felt I was underachieving because the system was failing me, and this was potentially an educational fail. However, I worked really hard, and I did quite well in school in the end. But one of the subjects I absolutely hated was maths. I couldn't abide maths. And then you had that terrible moment, and we've all been there, when you go for a careers interview and the poor careers teacher can't think beyond doctor, nurse, policeman and mechanic. And they were saying to me, well, you should become an accountant. Well, no, I can't become an accountant because I hate maths. I couldn't become a professional swimmer because I didn't have long enough legs. So I decided to do something completely unconventional, completely different, not well charted, and I dared to be different, and I chose marketing. So if I trotted to university, and I studied marketing at university, and the ethos at university was very much work hard, be the best you possibly can, aim to work for the bigger companies, follow the established path, blend in, and the big companies will look after you. Fine, but when it came for me applying for jobs, I couldn't pass the psychometric selection tests. So there was another fail in my life. This is maybe a psychometric test fail. So what did I do? I referred myself to the BDA. And for those of you in the know, the BDA is the British Dyslexia Association. And I was tested for dyslexia. And I was diagnosed as a dyslexic. Some people would see this as a brain fail. But I have to tell you, I was absolutely delighted because now I could understand myself better and understood why I was different, maybe thought differently to people, and I embraced it. However, I'm still cautious to this day about telling people about being dyslexic because there's often the judgment failure and people jump to the wrong conclusions about what a dyslexic is. Onto my career though, and after university, I was offered 2 jobs. One was with Woolworths and one was the Carphone warehouse. And I sadly went down the safe route because everybody's telling me Woolworths is a well-established company. It's been around for nearly 100 years. It'll be around for another 100 years. And some people went as far as to tell me that they don't think these things called car phones will catch on. But, you know, Woolworths was good fun and I made progress. And then I went to join a marketing agency out in the provinces set up by former directors of Woolworths. We were mavericks. We went out and did things that we should never even have pitched for, and we won businesses that against bigger agencies. We had this massive energy about us, this massive can-do attitude, and it was brilliant fun. But the real action for marketing agencies has always been in the West End. So I joined Triangle, and it was the largest independent marketing agency in the country at the time. Many people would say the best of its generation. Had a great time, a bit more structured, but nevertheless very, very different and very visionary in terms of the leadership that sat at the front of it. And then I did my first turnaround. This company was amazing, very, very smart software engineers, and they had the best product on the market, technically bar none. It passed every single test, but it wasn't selling. And I was sitting in the MD's office one day, and I said to him, Rob, your job's really tough. You know, you've got this, you've got that. And he goes, no, not at all. My job's dead easy. All I have to do is put great people in the room and great things happen. And I sat back and I paused for a moment because suddenly I realized I was now perceived as one of those great people that was in the room. Literally, I was in the room with great people. And it gave me the latitude to challenge the status quo and think differently and be myself. And we went and did something quite revolutionary again at the time. And we started to install our software for the right clients for free. And we offered them a 3-month trial. That little twist in the marketing led to us going on a very, very aggressive growth path and a very successful exit because we overcame people's objections. So today, Peppered Moth Marketing is a culmination of all my previous experience, where I've put what I've learned about turning failure into success. And I'd just like to share some of these secrets with you. In today's noisy world, best and safe is not enough. Working incredibly hard is not enough. Competing solely on being the best is far from safe. So instead of just aiming to be the best, you have to aim to be different. Being different makes you hard to copy, and it makes people fascinated by what you do. Equally, some people will avoid you as well. And this is good because your audience is self-selecting themselves. And this makes your marketing, both your time for marketing and your money for marketing, much more efficient. And there's another secret. The feeling of fascination I've just mentioned is so very important. But I'm not going to tell you why. I will. The reason is that when fascinated, the mind opens up. Fascination is a state of intense focus. People are less distracted, less cynical, and more likely to remember you and want to work with you. People are fascinated by my surname. They're fascinated by my dyslexia, and even fascinated by what lies behind a successful marketing career. They're even fascinated to learn why my company is called Peppered Moth Marketing and what we're going to do next to remain fascinating in a rapidly changing world. In marketing, you have a choice. Either be fascinating or have an enormous budget to pound people with your message and try and get a spot in their brain. So for most of us, without those enormous big marketing budgets, the message is really clear. Dare to be different. Embrace change. Almost talking to your point earlier there, Rob, about change and resilience. Surround yourself with super smart people. Make sure you're in the room of great people. Aim to be the best, but above all, be fascinating. talking about change, this is why the company is called Peppered Moth. It's a Darwinian concept. It's not the strongest or the fittest, but the most adaptable to change that will survive. It's true for the moth and it's true for business. Oh, and I almost forgot the final one. Never stop learning. If you want some evidence of how important this is, well, Henry Guanta, who's on the call today, helped me with this presentation. In fact, he did more than help me. He challenged me and he encouraged me. Oh, and there's one more. Be gracious. So thanks, Henry. So let's wrap the whole thing up. I'm aiming to be the best. Aiming to be the best is not enough. Working hard is not enough. You have to be different, and different to the point that for your ideal customers, you, your brand, are absolutely fascinating to them. That's it.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. That was a great speech, and it's very kind of you, and as you say, gracious. I'm grateful.